Hello, this is Eric.
And I'm Tiffany.
We are Terrific Pace Gaming, and we're with
Just Got Played.
And today we're going to be taking a look and reviewing a game called Aquatica. It's a game by Ivan Tuvosky for, what is that?
1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and it's going to take you about 60 minutes.
I think it's 14 or more fishes.
You're probably right.
Indeed. Anyway, like I said, we'll be doing Aquatica today, so stick with us. I'm going to give us a brief overview of the game in itself. Okay, so this is Aquatica. I don't really have it set up for a specific player count. I'm just trying to show you kind of an overview of what's going on here. So this is the main board. On here are where you have different characters and different lands. Everybody starts with the same deck of cards. They all have different symbols on them, and you see them in the corners. But they're all exactly the same for each player. The basic core concept of this game plays very much like Concordia, Century Spice Road, Mission Red Planet, where you have a hand of cards and you can use them as you wish. Meaning when it becomes my turn, I pick one of these cards, I play it, I do the effect, and it goes in my discard pile. Now I have one less card, but I still have all these other options. And then as you play through them, eventually one of the cards, which is actually the Matrona, lets you then pick up all the cards you've already spent so that you have a fresh hand of cards again. Some of the cards will let you purchase the different characters to add to your deck. So a little bit of a deck building, but really it's more of a hand builder kind of. And then as you see, the price goes up the farther up the chain you get. If someone were to buy one, they slide over, you reveal a new one. As I said, you can purchase one of the characters, or we also have lands up here. And the lands can either be purchased or conquered. All right, so it's basically the same thing. It's just a currency. It's just whether you're paying currency in warfare or if you're paying currency in coins, as it were. So it's a couple of more actions off of the character cards that you can do. All of the additional ones give you boosted up actions, maybe mix a couple of things together as far as what's going on to give you more options as you go. If someone were to scout, they would get to move up to 4 of the lands down here up into this section. Discard these and then fill up 6 new ones down here. And then for purchasing or conquering, now we have a lot more cards to choose from. The difference here is these cost 1 less to conquer, though they still cost the same to purchase. All right, I'm going to get into your own personal player board here in a few minutes, just to really break down some of what's actually going on here. I just wanted to show you the main board here. And then up at the top, you have the scoring. Now, the game comes pre-printed with 4 of them on here. And these are, as a for instance, have 8 character cards in your hand, not your discard. Have 5 lands in your player board. Have 3 scored lands and have 2 wild manatees. I'll talk about the manatees real quick. First of all, everybody starts with their specific symbol.
You mean manta rays?
Manta rays.
They're not manatees.
They're not manatees? Did I say manatees?
I would love them if they were manatees.
They're not manatees. They are manta rays. That is correct, everybody. So hello to Tiffany. Hello. Yes.
Hello.
Indeed. So anyway, yes, these would be the manta rays. They have things that they can do on them, and basically until you flip them over, and there's different ways to do that. Like this has an extra coin, so if I wanted to buy this and I played a card that let me buy but didn't give me any money, I could flip this one over. Now I have a coin and I could buy this one when I play the card to buy a character. Some of them increase your warfare, which again is just another currency. It's either money or warfare as your currency, and some of them are very specific. So each color slash player, as it were, starts with a different color. As you can see, the different colors over here, and they all have an advantage against one specific type of land. Again, I'll get into that in just a minute when we get a little bit closer on the player board. But up here at the top, like I said, is the scoring. Those are the 4 pre-printed, which we talked about, but it also comes with a bunch of double-sided other options. So in theory, you could just shuffle these out, pull them out of a bag or whatever, and then score 4 different things during the game. The game is going to end when either one of these decks runs out, or when somebody places the last of their mana rays, not manatees, mana rays up here. So each person can only go to each one of them once. You see it's decreasing value in victory points as you get them out there. But the point being is once I have 8 characters in my hand, I can use one of my personal manatees to mark that and score that. Now the drawback, you're right, they're not manatees, they're mana rays. Now obviously the drawback being I just lost one of my bonuses. As a side note, there are a lot of neutral mana rays that come with the game, and those will line up with different lands that actually award these out once you fulfill the requirement, as it were. So I could have maybe this going on also, so it might not hurt so much to get rid of one of my own blue ones because I got backups now and different ones. And they will basically do the same thing. They just have a bonus on the back. Just some of them are your personal ones, and some of them are just neutral. And that's basically everything going on this big board here. All right, we zoomed in a little bit so you can see a little bit more of what's going on with the player board. One thing I did forget to mention in the first overview is that everybody does have their own deck of cards, but you also start the game with a king card, which is basically another one of those cards. It's just kind of you. It gives you a special ability, a little bit of asymmetry to start the game. So everybody would either draft one or get one randomly or whatever, and that was one of those would go in your main deck, so you would actually have 7 cards at the start of the game before you purchased any character cards. All right, but mostly we want to talk about what's going on with the lands because that's over here. So as we were talking about, there are 4 different kinds of lands. There's ocean volcanoes, there's sunken ships, volcanoes, there are ruins or sunken cities, whatever, and then there's also Shark Bay. All right, so that's going to come up in just a minute, but we're going to set this up a little bit and kind of show you what's going on. So they have all of the lands have what are called different depths on them. And when you purchase or conquer one, you put it into your player board and you slide it up to the first depth. So that one has 4 depths on it, whereas this one starts with just 1. So whenever you purchase / conquer one, you put it in and slide it up to the first depth. Okay. And then during the course of the game, there's 2 different things going on here. So there are basically currencies. Here you have warfare, and here you have money, and you have effects. All right, so I'll put a couple in here so you can see what I mean. Here you have, this is a special symbol we'll get to in a minute, but these are the warfare symbols that are paired up with very specific kinds of lands. So for instance, if I were to try to conquer a Shark Bay, Shark Bay land from the main board, I could then slide that up and get 3 additional to my base. All right, and that's basically how these work. So like I was saying, there's 2 things going on. There's effects. Let's see if I can get a couple more effects going on up here. Here's a good one. And then there is also the currencies. So the deal is you can use the effects before and or after your card play, and you could use the resources during your card play. All right, so like I was saying, if I was trying to conquer something, let's say it was a shipwreck, if I started out with, say, 1 off the card in my hand, I could also add 3 more for a shipwreck. Now I'm at 4, and I could add 2 more general over here, and now I'm at 6. So that would be, I would spend those alternatively, just like that. If I were to use a coin to purchase a land or even a character during that action, I could move that up and use the 1 coin. All right, so you're going to see there's a lot of blank ones on here. So that's actually what these are for. And these are going to raise your depths. So these are spent, so I'm good with those. Let's say
what it is.
I spent those.
These, he means it's a number and then an arrow that's up. So it's a bump, basically, is what we call it.
So this is 1 bump and 2 bumps here. All right, now, like I said, a lot of these have blank spaces on them. This is the only way to get past the blank spaces. So if I use this to bump 1, I could bump that one. Now, you can't use that effect on the card where you did it. So I couldn't bump 1, this one. I'd have to bump 1 somewhere else like I did. All right, now I have 2 bumps over here, so I could use this to go 1, 2. And now I again have 2 bumps. Now the only way to get past the empties is to use the bumps, but you can also use them just to get past whatever else you have here. So if I wanted to, I could cash this in for 2 bumps and go 1, 2. All right, and the point here, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get them all the way up to the top. Once they're at the top, then you can score them. All All right, but you need this symbol to score them. So let's say I had these two left. I could score one. That one's worth 6 points. We'll score that one. And then I could score another one. That one's worth 5 points. Let's score this one. So now I'm scoring points for the end of the game, as well as opening up new spots to add more lands, to get more effects and more currencies, and continue this until the game ends.
There is something pretty cool at the bottom of those cards, though, if you want to pull one back.
That's true. In fact, we did sell one of those. Now, you don't have to wait until, or score it, rather. You don't have to wait until it is scored. As you'll see, both of these cards actually have the wild, which is the purple mantas. They have a symbol for that on the bottom. So this one specifically says 1 bump. All right, so once I get this all the way up here, I now get that 1 bump neutral mana ray. So now, just like all my other ones, anytime I want to, anytime it's appropriate, I can just flip that over and get a bump. Just like that one, and get a bump. So that's pretty much everything that's going on as far as, this would be where your discards go, but I'm sure you probably saw me doing that, give or take, on the last video. And that's pretty much the whole game. The game is played, like I said, until one of those two decks runs out, or one person puts their 4th personal manta on one of the end goals. Then you count up the points. Most of the character cards, I believe, have points. Nope, I'm lying.
No,
so it's really just the points on the top. Oh, and your scored lands.
Right.
Exactly. And whoever has the most points wins the game. That's Aquatica.
That's Aquatica.
Okay, so that was the overview of Aquatica. So what do you think?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not quite a deck builder. So I love deck builders. It's not quite that. But, you know, I like the idea of buying cards that will manipulate your future turns and give you powers or bonuses to what you're already doing in the game. I thought that it's nice to have the ability to manipulate those manatees.
Manta rays.
Manta rays.
Yes.
To be able to kind of boost up your turn. I did find myself kind of wanting a little bit more, but it's not supposed to be a super heavy, super deep game. It's pretty light, and I mean not light, but
no, but it's definitely not complicated.
It's not deep.
Right. And as you know, this is one of my favorite mechanisms is here's a whole bunch of cards, and then one at a time, play them out, and eventually get them all back. I love that. I love Concordia. I think it's great, which, by the way, would be a much more complex version
game,
of something.
yes.
Now, obviously, completely different. That has nothing to do with oceans and depths and all of that, but the same kind of hand, play a card, eventually get them all back mechanism, which is fantastic. So I'm a big fan of that mechanism as far as it goes. I agree. It's not incredibly complicated. It seems like there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of different symbols. But in the end, it really doesn't take that long. And you really understand what all the symbols do and how everything works. I think the most complicated part probably is just making sure that you do the moving the depths at the right time. Because I know at least some of us on our last game, not maybe everyone, but some of us in our last game were doing that where we shouldn't have been, which really made it very powerful. Doing things like purchasing a character, or actually it was the goals. It was the end game scoring. Because some of those are like 10, 12 coins, but we were cheating a little bit because we were playing the card and then like getting some coins and then using a bump to move up to get more coins. You can't use the bump during that time. You can only use the bump outside of the card play.
Right. Once you start the action of purchasing something, you cannot then use your bump dolphins. They're not dolphins. Manta rays. You can't use bumps from other cards to give you access to additional coins or conquest points or whatever they're called.
Right.
So
you can still get those, but you're limited to one per card, and they have to be set up and ready to go. So once I start my turn of conquering a place, then I can go, I'll take 2 and 1 and 2 more, and that's fine. You just can't maneuver all this stuff around at the same time. So that was a little bit confusing for us. I don't know. It's probably my fault because I'm the teacher. And
we like to blame everything.
We like to blame everything on me anyway. Yeah. But that was probably the most complicated part of it. I really think it only takes a couple of turns to really get in the swing of it. Most of it is very simple. The character cards themselves are very explanatory. If you get a coin, you buy a character. You get 2 conquer points, you conquer a land. And the game just kind of flows like that. I think the scoring is really neat. Just basically it's 4 achievements, which you can start with the printed ones, or of course, like I was showing you, you can randomize them, throw them out there. But it just gives you something to aim at, of course, because you're scoring it. So once I have 8 characters in my hand, I just pull one of my manatees up, I'm there. And then, of course, it's worth like 8 points if you're the first one there. So that's nice, and it goes down. So I like the way that all of that works. What do you think is your favorite part?
I like the interactivity of the cards. So being able to use you purchase the cards with the anticipation of, oh yeah, I want to buy a lot of characters. So I'm going to buy this one with a lot of coins on it. And then being able to manipulate those to be able to achieve your turn. I think that's probably my favorite part.
Yeah, you are an engine builder. This is kind of an engine builder, and it's kind of not, because as you like, your engine is basically those lands and the cards in your hand. Now, the cards in your hand you're going to have all the time, but the lands, you use them up and then they're gone. So it's kind of a weird engine builder in that, like, part of your engine is just used up and it's gone. But there is that feel of it for sure, because you can definitely set up a bunch of things to happen in one turn. You could maneuver the land so that now you have like 8 coins just ready to go, and then you could
just lay into
one of those character cards. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think my favorite part of the game, it's got to be that mechanism where you just get the hand. I just love it. I love that mechanism. I think it's really awesome because everybody's basically on an even playing field. You know, everybody has the same cards. Now, of course, you get a king card. So that differentiates you a little bit from everybody else. But in general, everybody has the same cards. So it's really about how I play these cards, which are the same ones that you have, right, and somehow come out with a better score. So I really like that. I think probably my dislike for this game, I don't know. I think maybe it's too simple, too short. That's probably, and I like this game, so I'm kind of digging to get a dislike out of it, but that would probably be it. I'd say right about the time you're like, oh yeah, this is awesome, then the game's pretty much over at that point. But that's why you play this, because it is kind of a shorter, simpler, mechanically speaking game, and it's really beautiful. Quite frankly, we're going to save some of the boxes and put it up in our underwater room, our ocean room. Yes.
That sounded creepy.
Well, that's what it sounds like at the bottom of the ocean. Come on.
No. I've seen Little Mermaid.
I guess. Well, that's a different kind of ocean. I don't know. What was your dislike?
I don't like that your engine gets used up as you go. I understand that that's the game. I mean, that's the whole point. You can't score the cards until you get to the bottom of them. So I totally understand. But like you said, I like engine builders. I want to spend an unreasonable amount of time putting together an epic engine so that at the end of the game, I can watch it go and just admire it in all of its majesty. And you just don't get that with this game.
That's true. I think I'm probably, I don't know, just a little bit different than you are, babe, because I like these games in their spots. So I really like this game
for that.
For that simpler, move some stuff around and do some resources, a little bit of engine builder, and then the game's over and we had fun. So I like that in that slot a lot. You like this game?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's not my go-to. I think I would prefer to play Concordia, but
yeah, I mean, Concordia is great. I hear you.
Yeah, but if we've got people over that maybe aren't ready for a super heavy game, or we don't have time to play something as complex as Concordia, I think Aquatica is a beautiful way to get that sort of mechanism to the table.
Excellent. Well, there you have it, our opinions for you. So please, chime in, do the thumbs, do the subscribe thing. Subscribe. Yes, exactly. And rate us some comments and we'll be sure to argue with you. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We are Terrific Pace. And anything else?
No.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a comment or hit the like button. It really does help us out. If you have suggestions for future videos, let us know in the comments as well, and then subscribe to see what we come up with next.